Hi everyone! If you clicked on this video, you are probably considering moving abroad or at least just curious about it. Many of us dream about it. I've read that more than 78% of the French people, for example, dream about it, but only less than 20% of the population actually move abroad, right? So many of us dream about it but feel held by the fear of the unknown, or having to leave our loved ones behind, or just stepping out of our comfort zone. My name is Javier, and during the last 20 years of my life, I've lived in 4 different countries, such as Ireland, United States, Guadeloupe, and now Brazil. So today I want to share with you how moving abroad changed my life and might eventually change yours. If you are new to the channel, life transitioning, finding your life purpose, or expatriations are my forever favorite topics. And if this resonates with you, well, please subscribe, hit the bell button to be notified of any new content coming soon. Okay, now let's dive in the subject. First, I would like to give you a bit of a context. Even though I've lived in 4 countries, my journey wasn't exactly preordained. I grew up in a village of about 2,000 people in the countryside of northeastern France. In this small village, I was living with my mom. My aunt also lives there. My grandma lives there. My grandfather was born there. My grandmother was living there. So as you can see, it's not something I've been introduced to at a very young age. By the contrary. And I'm pretty much, I think, alien for them to have embraced such life, to have made those type of decisions. I remember that as a kid, I've always wondered how people could be satisfied by living the same life over and over again for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Actually, I'm not saying that it's not good. It feels good for a lot of people and it's totally fine, but on my perspective, maybe I had that temper, more adventurous, more curious, and I was feeling a bit claustrophobic. I was always dreaming about something more exciting, and I was wondering, how about life beyond this bubble? So as you can see, I was definitely not predisposed to follow that path. And I would like to explore with you today how the experience of moving abroad, the challenges I faced, the lesson I've learned, changed my life, who I am, and allowed me to live a more purposeful life and to have a, I would say, different approach to life nowadays. First, I would say that moving abroad allowed me to learn how to cope with change, because let's be honest, we all face changes in our life, and it's been told that change is the only consistency in life. But most of the time, or many of us, resist it. And why would we resist it? Just because change makes us feel uncomfortable, and sometimes we just want to avoid it. And to me, expatriation, however, is a perfect and powerful way to learn how to cope with change throughout your life. So when you move abroad, I would say first, the change is very sudden, because in a few hours, you find yourself in a completely brand new environment. It's global because the change impacts every aspect of your life, from your diet to your social circle and even to the climate you live in. So my first major challenge with change was when I moved to Dublin when I was 20 for a training program. It was my first experience out of my country, even for vacation. And it was my very first time out of my home, my family cocoon. It was a very painful and in the same time exciting experience. Exciting because of the freedom it gave me to break free from my family. But in the same time, this change was so big and sudden that I felt really vulnerable and unsafe in this foreign environment. It was even the first time I got on a plane, so I remember those 3 hours flight to Dublin. I spent the entire time crying, and I was like, why did you decide to do this? Why do you do this to yourself, you know? And I had no idea what I was going to expect arriving there. I was supposed to meet a person that was going to host me for the months to come. I clearly remember how it was like when I landed in Dublin. I was alone in this airport with a new language, expecting someone to pick me up. And actually I saw old man like, you know, Uncle Dursley in Harry Potter. It was heavy, dark gray outside, pouring cats and dogs. And when I arrived in their house, it was a bit like private drive. And I even had the bar on the window of my room. And I felt like, what the hell? Why I decided to come here? I was so good. I was feeling so good with my family in my you know, known environment. And at the first dinner all together, they tried to talk to me, and I was, even though I knew English, the Irish accent, I was like, my God, what they are telling me. And I remember after dinner, I went back to my room and I cried, and I was like, I'm not going to survive this. I don't like this house. I don't understand what those people are telling me. The weather is terrible. And yeah, it was a really painful experience at the beginning. Even walking around in Dublin city, it's a very safe city, I would say, but I felt really unsafe. And the worst thing to me is to not have a person of trust at hand. Like, I felt very vulnerable, and I felt like I didn't know who I could turn to in case of I need some help, I don't feel good, I need to share what I'm feeling with someone. And I had actually the similar feelings when I moved to New York a few years later. So this is not something that you get used to, it's just something that you adjust yourself to. When I arrived in New York City, I remember, like probably most of us do, I've been to Times Square. I was amazed by what I saw, those lights, this noise, this life that you can feel, that energy. But in the same time, it was very scary. I looked around me and I thought, wow, okay, there are millions of people passing by me right now. But what if something happens to me? Well, no one's scared. I would say that when you move abroad, the most difficult thing is to handle all the information you have to get and adjust to. So your mind is kind of exploding with brand new information from the language, from the culture, from the behavior, from, you know, it's like when you go to work. When you drive to your work, you probably use the same itinerary every single day. So it's very clear to you, you don't even have to think about it. You do it instinctively. But when you go to a brand new city, you have to pay much more attention when you drive around. It's a little bit the same thing when you move abroad. So my mind was full of information. I had a headache. My emotions were also overflowing because I had to deal with stress, I had to deal with fear, I had to deal with loneliness, sadness sometimes. Why do we fear change? First, because our brain is wired for survival and not necessarily for growth. From a psychological perspective, change triggers our fight or flight response as the brain interprets all the unknown information as a potential threat. So essentially, our fear of change is a survival mechanism designed just to keep us safe in a familiar environment. So that leads to my second point. What changed for me by moving abroad is that I developed audacity. When you move abroad, everything in your daily life becomes a challenge. You have to step out of your comfort zone for consistently for pretty much anything, whether it's talking to a stranger or going to a job interview in a brand new language that you don't master yet. Even moving abroad, taking the decision of moving abroad by itself requires a lot of audacity, I would say. So let's talk a little bit about audacity. Audacity is the willingness to take bold risks, often in situations where others might hesitate or avoid it. It involves, I would say, a mix of courage, a mix of self-confidence, and willing to push your boundaries, right? And face uncertainty. And audacity, it's also going after audacious goals that you set for yourself despite potential obstacles or criticism or failure. Audacity is often driven by a desire for growth, a desire for success, or the pursuit of a vision that feels compelling. If I would have to define myself as a kid or a young adult, I would definitely not qualify myself as audacious at all. When I was a kid, I was very shy. I lacked a lot of self-confidence. I was the one that was bullied at school. I was the kind of girl that I remember, for example, when my mom and I were walking in the street and we saw a person asking for money in the street or playing music for money in the subway, and she was always like, oh, go and put the coins there for that person. And I was, no, I don't want to do it, no, please. I was really scared of talking to strangers. It was really difficult for me to make new friends because at school I was scared to go to talk to people. So when you move to another country and you have to start over your entire social circle, imagine how desperate I was the first time I had that type of experience. So moving to Ireland forced me to face those type of fears, because obviously you have to develop boldness out of necessity. It's a question of survival. So I had to go to talk to stranger. I had to go to introduce myself, to make new friends, and I had to face the fear of being ridiculous speaking a new language. All of this. And over time, over those 6 months, I can definitely measure the huge impact that this experience had on me and how it developed audacity. To give you an example, I've always dreamt about moving to the United States. So after my experience in Ireland, I finished my studies and I started working for an international company in Paris, and I've asked several times to be relocated to a branch of ours in United States, whatever the city. And I was repeatedly turned down, maybe because at that time I was too young, not that much experienced. But anyway, when I was a student in Paris, I met a lot of American girls, and we kept in touch. And one day I had that opportunity to go to Chicago for vacation to visit one of these friends. And suddenly I had this weird idea in my mind. Oh, what about I would go there and try to get job interview? I pick some resume with me, and well, let's see what's going to happen. Hello, me, the person who couldn't even give a coin to a person begging for money in the street. Now I want to move to United States, arrive just like this, just like a flower, with my resume, and try to get job interview and maybe a job at the end of the day. This was not possible even 4 or 5 years prior to that travel, to that trip in the United States. So I went there confident, right? Actually, when I got there, I was not as confident as you can imagine. Actually, I just contacted 2 or 3 companies, but I managed to get one interview, and I did that interview in Chicago. And although it didn't land a job immediately, the experience bolstered my confidence and my audacity. So I was really happy that I made it. And actually, at that time, I didn't know that a few months later, because I did this, I would have the opportunity to move to New York City. So yeah, about 8 months after, I had that great opportunity to move to New York for 2 years. And in New York City, further pushed my boundaries. Because to me, American culture encourages risk-taking, pursuing your dreams, being the best version of yourself. So I became more and more comfortable with stepping out of my comfort zone. And if you succeed in cultivating enough self-confidence, enough audacity, the probability of pursuing your dreams and goals and achieving it increase significantly. And this is why I tend to think that moving abroad, giving you that confidence that leads you to live a more purposeful life, because it aligns your dreams with your capacities and your action. And last but not least, as I just talked about it when I explained how I changed also by being introduced to the American culture, in my opinion, moving abroad allows you to reveal or even change some aspect of your identity or personality, and even sometimes enable certain parts of yourself to flourish. I'm fully convinced that living abroad can also reveal and nurture different aspects of your personality or identity. How does moving abroad can change your personality? Well, external influences play a significant role in shaping who we are in several ways. Like, for example, your family and your education. Those factors can shape your values, your beliefs from an early age. The culture and the society you live in can shape your attitudes, your opinions, your vision of the world, and the vision of yourself. I would say even the people you interact with, they influence your personality by exposing you to some ideas or to adopt certain behavior. So as soon as you step away from this environment that has shaped you, You allows either your true self to emerge or just explore new aspects of your personality that couldn't flourish where you come from. So by exposing yourself to different cultures and different perspectives, you can broaden your horizons, you can broaden your vision. So how it affects me? Well, I grew up in an environment of caution. You have to be cautious. Most of the people of my family are scared of change. They are definitely not the type of person that would take any risk because risk equals danger. Thanks to the experience abroad, I would say it allowed me to break out of the mold I had been shaped into. It didn't instantly change me, it was a gradual process, but definitely being far from home, alone, forced me to introspect, to reassess my beliefs, value, and way of living. And I would say every country I lived in contributed to shape me a certain way. So, for example, in Ireland, they have that pub culture, right? That is very convivial, and it taught me how to appreciate group company because I was a single child and I was a kind of loner. So there I developed my joviality, even if I grew up very solitary. In the United States, I learned American optimism, contrasting with the French tendency to complain all the time about pretty much everything. And I gained the freedom to express myself. When in France, we could be more judgmental. In Guadeloupe, I would say that the blend of Christianity and mysticism led me to develop a spirituality that was previously in my life non-existent at all. So since then, it's a side of my life I tend to develop more and more. So you see, all of those countries, all of those cultures shaped a part of my personality. And without this experience, if I would have stayed in France since the very beginning, I would be a total different person. So for all of those reasons, I would say that living abroad is a catalyst of life lesson, and it can definitely allow you to grow more authentically and more aligned with yourself. Because obviously all of this I already had inside of me. I just needed the perfect environment to let those aspects of my personality flourish. Actually, I would say that I think that your true self, when it's really who you are, is a part of yourself that will never change, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what country you live in. But what was just the fruit of conditioning by society, by your family, your education, can be easily blown away as soon as you get out of the mold. So that's pretty much it, guys. To conclude, I would say that as I've explored with you today, moving abroad is definitely, to my opinion, a great, unique opportunity for self-growth. It's a catalyst of life lesson in a very short time period, and it teaches you adaptability, resilience, audacity, courage, facing your fear, facing discomfort, and all of this are aptitudes that are definitely necessary to, I would say, flow more effortlessly with life. It gives you also the empowerment, the necessary empowerment to pursue your dreams, to live with purpose. And I would recommend this to anyone interested in this type of life. Of course, it's not a propaganda for moving abroad. There are so many others different ways to empower yourself and develop yourself. Like, for example, entrepreneurship is also a great experience that's going to push your boundaries that's pretty much it for today. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this video helpful, do not hesitate to share it with anyone who is interested about moving abroad. If you liked it, you can give it a thumb up. You can share your thoughts, your experience, and if you have any question, just write it in the comment section below. I would love to see your questions, and I would maybe make a video about it in the near future. And before leaving, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for you to be notified of any further content coming out about living abroad or self-development or life transitioning. And I'll see you in the next video on the other side of the horizon. Bye!